Thanks for having us and thanks for the introduction. Thanks for being here. I think, do we start with the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, shall we do that first and then everybody knows a little bit more about the project we will talk about today, the choice.
My husband and I met and very quickly decided that we were going to run away together and get married and have kids. And then, to my surprise, we actually got pregnant on the first try. And we were really planning a healthy pregnancy, and that's not what ended up happening. I ended up bleeding in the middle of the night, and like I said, I had really bad mom brain, so when I woke up and I saw the blood, I was like, okay, maybe it's not that bad. The nurse didn't really talk to me about it and said that everything was fine and that the baby was fine. The blood was not circulating through her heart. The fact that doctors in Texas are allowed to lie, legally allowed to lie, and then legally allowed to not treat a miscarriage. I don't know what my future's gonna be like.
Thanks for having the video. So I know you worked quite a while on this project and now you're traveling for a while with this project. Perhaps you can start telling us a little bit more, the audience, how this all started for you, how you found your protagonists and how you dived into this project. Though.
And why I did it.
And why you did it, right.
Yeah, because that's an important question. So I'm a Polish Canadian. And that's important for this project because in Poland my government was they were attacking a lot of minorities, a lot of groups, and one of the groups that they attacked were women, and they were working on banning abortion for a couple of years. And as an artist, I wanted to say something, as a human I wanted to something, and as a sociologist I started analyzing the debate. The pro-choice side, the anti-choice side, and also what people were looking into, like what are the biases, what they think about women who have abortions, what they do know, what they do not know. And then I realized that there is a certain dichotomy, and also as a Polish person, I know a lot of people who are anti-choice, but I still respect them, they are my friends. And I wanted to find a way to, without patronizing them, to just show them a different perspective. And also with my, I like to say, previous life, I used to work with stereotype and bias, and the method that I used to find very useful, very simple, and very powerful was putting people together, allowing them to talk to each other, and that's it. Because this is how, like with personal connection, with you being allowed to draw your own conclusions, this is how the change can happen when you trust the process, when you trust the people. And the choice is in its basis, this is just that. So it's a virtual conversation with a human in VR. But of course it's an artistic project because I wanted to guide the audience a little bit, also use the power of VR for storytelling. So use the space, use the, first of all, use the all the aspects of being with another human, the proximity, the being there with her. We actually ended up developing our own way to film her, because I didn't want her, it does not come across on the flat screen, but I didn't want her to feel like an avatar, a hologram. I wanted to feel like you are really there. Technically, very quickly, we can combine volumetric and stereoscopy. If you're interested in that, we can talk about that later. But also use of space in terms of, like, I was wondering how to make people feel really immersed in this space, but not lose their attention. And there's a lot of both research and when you just watch, for example, 360 videos, the thing that really annoys me as an audience is if I am in a 360 space, I don't really know what to pay attention to. So I wanted to guide the audience, to make them focus on her. That's why she's the main point of focus. But then we also use the spatial animation to sort of allow you to look around, and also there is research showing that if you use 360 space, it makes it very impactful emotionally, and people are like understanding unconsciously what's happening and who is the person. So I wanted to combine those two. Then in terms of finding Kristen, so I live in Canada. We started filming the interviews in Canada, and also who is my audience? So my audience are mostly anti-choice people. I wanted to show them the human side of it. And the interviews that we filmed in Canada started showing a very interesting thing. It started showing how it should be, but without this very emotional point that I wanted to make to affect the anti-choice people. So it was about personal choice. It was about the society where it's your decision, it's your life circumstances, it's your conscious, it's you and nobody else deciding for you. So it is great to show how it should be, but I was lacking this element to start a conversation, to like shake my audience. And then, you know, there's this big country south from us, which is US, where they have what I was looking for, which is obstacles, which is somebody like the systemic. It's odd to talk about it after Roe v. Wade in the post-Roe America, because we started before and it changed a lot. But already before Roe v. Wade was revoked, there was a lot of laws, how you call it, like a lot of bills, a lot of systemic build-up for creating atmosphere of fear, for creating like the Kristen situation is like that. So she was affected by the laws that were introduced,
Right.
And with that, I'm sort of showing from one perspective an obvious story, because many people agree that medical abortion, so she had medical abortion, that medical abortion is the easiest because, you know, the woman's life is in danger. But we see even in today's Poland, where abortion is now limited, you cannot have it for medical reasons, and women are dying. So despite the fact that we agree to it, it's still a very controversial issue. And the way that I found her, it was literally just putting a post on Instagram. I hate speaking about, you know, algorithm and ethics and all that stuff about Instagram and places like that. I'm usually not good with that, so I'm wondering, how did it happen? It happened accidentally that she just found my post, so it worked for us. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. So I know it was just presented at the London Film Festival, but I think the first presentation you had was in Austin, Texas, which is... No, was not?
It was our North American premiere.
Right.
But go for it.
Well, the question would have been like even in Austin, Texas, which is like where they just changed the laws, I think, when you presented it, or it was in the...
Not yet.
The process was there. How did the people react, or how did the people react overall, not only in Austin, Texas, but...
So, of course, the most powerful reactions I do have in US, we premiered at ITFA, but then our North American premiere was in Austin, Texas. Kristen is from Texas, so her story is connected to the stuff that are happening there. And it was before the Supreme Court decision, but it was already in Texas, where they have 20-something bills only in last decade. They introduced 26 bills that keep attacking, keep restricting the access in very sneaky way. So when I was showing it in Texas, I didn't expect that strong emotions. People were crying, people were speechless, people were hugging me. The experience is designed in a way to make it emotional. Kristen's story is very emotional, so it works like that on people. But in Texas, they were just shaken, because they know it's not just, you know, me trying to warn them. They already know what's at stake, and we see today what was at stake now with the Supreme Court already revoked Roe. It was actually really odd, because then we were showing it in New York in July, already after the Supreme Court revoked Roe, and it was like, you know, like a hammer hit you in the head, because you know that there's so many things that you can do as a society, we can do, but with Supreme Court, how do you turn that? Like it's this is something that needs another decade of working again, and that's my big question with this project, because like personally when I started working on it, for me it was important to affect a person, one person. It was already a huge win if somebody would rethink. And then we are affecting people. We have very powerful testimonies from anti-choice people, also from pro-choice people who are finding multiple layers in it. But there was always this hope that, if you will, build a community, if you will make somebody think that, their vote has a meaning, so they can do something. There was this hope that projects like this can help with building, like providing cultural change. But with the Supreme Court decision, what is next? Like, how do you change that? That's sort of grim, I know, but...
Sort of grim. Right, and we don't have so much time, and I would like to have the audience as well asking questions, because I think you might have questions or you want to know specific things that do not come to my mind, but perhaps you can tell us what's next for you. I mean, this project obviously creates impact. It's using the immersive medium of VR very well, in my eyes, in my opinion. What's next? How are you working with your experience out of that now?
So next are two projects. First one is continuing our work with the choice and building impact campaign. So VR is very challenging to distribute because there is still not enough headsets, and you have to depend on festivals and events. So we are doing something else. We are actively preparing events around the issue and with organizations who are interested in building the cultural change, and we are doing it with Games for Change from New York. So that's for the choice, and I'm already working on my next project, which the basic idea is similar, but then it will be much more complex visually and with the storytelling. So it will be a virtual conversation with a Holocaust survivor, and then you will go through journey through his memories, through his biography. And the reason why I'm making this project is, first of all, there are certain mechanisms that we are observing similar to what was happening 80 years ago, and we see certain mechanisms, similar rhetoric, similar thinking, and I think we need a warning before it goes further. But also, when you think about war and Holocaust history, I live in North America, and I am scared how little people know about it. But again, in terms of not just what happened, but in terms of how it was built, how it was designed, and how it was executed. And I think VR is a great way to play with perspectives, play with scale, and put you there and make you not live through it. I'm against of saying that VR makes you walk in someone's shoes and really imagining you are there, because you still are aware that it's just 5 minutes of creation, but sort of to allow you to change perspective for a moment. So that's why I'm working on this next project.
Right, interesting. Okay, cool. Is there a microphone for the audience, or, I mean, it's a small room, we can even ask. Yeah, exactly. Does anybody have a question? Does anybody want to raise something?
Do you want a microphone?
Well, if there's questions, then I would say yes, but... Eric. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, that was very insightful. Just one question. In the video that you showed on the second slide or something, I missed that second part of the sentence where doctors are allowed to, and then I didn't quite read that. And then later on it said doctors are allowed to actually to legally lie to the patient. So what was the legislation at that point? Yeah, what led to that decision?
Okay, so the interesting part of that bill is that it was introduced, it wasn't fully executed, but the bill would allow doctors to withhold information about abnormalities, fetus abnormalities, because they want to protect the life. And the situation in Texas in 2017, just before Kristen had her abortion, was that they started introducing it in the local Senate, but then it was not pushed through the whole system. But when we were premiering it at South by Southwest 4 years later, we were talking with local organizations, we were bringing people to the screenings, and because the goal is to show the experience to them, have them engaged. And many of them, 4 years later, didn't know that this bill didn't actually pass. So what's happening in Texas, and the same mechanism are happening in Poland, is that certain discussion starts on political level, and it's got so complex and so chaotic that people are not really sure what they are allowed to do and what not, and like the doctors, and I understand that it's a human thing, the doctors, when they are not sure what they can be prosecuted for, they, just in case, they're not going with it. And in Poland, we had multiple situations like this so in Poland, we didn't really ban abortion formally a year and a half ago. What happened is that Constitutional Tribunal reinterpreted some sentence from the Constitution, the sentence that it's not there. But they provided a new interpretation, and according to this new interpretation, medical abortion is not allowed. So it's a lot of like mixing, and only if you go very deep into it, you realize that nothing actually happened, but everybody is already acting like something happened and doctors can be prosecuted. We have women dying because they don't have medical care, and we had a couple months ago, there was a very brutal situation of a woman with twin pregnancy. One of the twins died, and they didn't provide help because they said it would be an abortion. Second twin died, and they said it still would be abortion. You have already 2 dead bodies in her body, and they're still, no, we can't act, and she died. So as an effect, we have 3 dead, according to pro-life people, these are 3 dead people because they were saving life. And the similar mechanism are happening in Texas. That's why this case was actually very interesting for me, because people don't know that the bill was just introduced. It was never enforced. Yeah.
Thanks for shining a light on this.
Yeah. It brings me to a question I wanted to raise before already. I mean, there's several countries where it's illegal to promote this. Does this impact you, or does this impact your protagonist in any way, that you are talking about this topic in that way?
Me personally, I keep joking that when I go to Poland, they will revoke my passport. But no, luckily, it's not that bad. But actually, some people asked me why I didn't interview a Polish person. And at the beginning, I wanted to, and I was reaching out to Polish people, and they were afraid. It was like we started working on it 2018, and it was when, like before abortion was practically banned in Poland, and it was before, like a year and a half ago, you might have heard that we had in Poland these massive strikes, massive protests, police beating people up, police like locking and prosecuting students, teachers. But it was already after I was looking for my protagonist, and it was interesting that people already were afraid, and they felt that, hey, I probably should not share my face, share my name. It was important for me that you see her face, see her name, but they were afraid, and I think I'm glad that we didn't do it, because I would be afraid what might happen to them. Yeah.
Is there any more questions from the audience?
Hey, do you aware of anyone else doing kind of similar things? And do you kind of, if so, do you sort of join up together? Is there like a bit of a community, or is it quite a separate thing?
Can you rephrase, please?
Oh, sorry. So are other people doing sort of similar things with VR, so making similar kind of films that you're aware of? And do you sort of get together? Do you share ideas, that sort of thing?
So there is a project that is about different thing, and I don't know personally the creators, but I know the organization who is making an impact campaign with them, and it's On the Morning You Wake. So On the Morning You Wake is a virtual reality experience about, so a couple of years ago, people in Hawaii received a phone notification that there are nuclear missiles shot at Hawaii, and the experience is about being there on that day, being afraid, running, for your life, grabbing your children, trying to find shelter, all that stuff. And I started observing, without yet knowing that it's Games for Change who is doing that with them. So I started observing their impact campaign. So they organize curated meetings, curated events and screenings with organizations that are doing some advocacy, some work, some awareness work about nuclear threat. And they are organizing screenings together with conversations, with some activization. And I was observing them saying, wow, I want this for the choice, because I think this is a way to work with impactful VR experiences. Like, we have to bring them to people. We should not only show them. That's why even now with festival screenings, I try to be there for the audience. Like, when the people take the headset off, I'm there to provide them an opportunity to just have a conversation, because I think people need it. And with On the Morning Awake, they are doing it in a much more organized way. And this is why I reached out to their impact producer asking, hey, can we do that together? And because I very much admire what you do. And like, if there are VR creators who are looking how to make it happen, because I know it's challenging, I'm very much open to sharing what I know so far, what I've learned, because I think it's important.
I have one last question.
We are out of time, so very quickly. Please.
Very quick, yeah. Where can people see the project now if they want to see it?
For now, we are not available publicly, but if you guys have Oculus Quest and my email, there's no my email here, but you can find me on LinkedIn. I am sharing codes to watch it, so you can download it on your own device and watch it at home. Other than, of course, some festivals, and the next festival that is coming is we're nominated for the VR Awards in Rotterdam.
Congrats.
In December. So this is where you can watch it. But if you want to do it at home, just let me know.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Please, a warm round of applause for